Well, hi there, guys. How are you? Welcome to Dinosaur Live. I'm Christopher. Angela's coming up here in a second. Tonight we're talking about our birds, temperament. You know what? I'm going to need to grab my notes. I think I left my notes out there. We're going to be talking about temperament, how to hold our birds, and ensuring that it's a pleasant experience. Sorry, fixing my iPad. If you're new here, we do a lot of education. We do a lot of these lives. We do live usually every week. We try to do a lot of different subjects. I like to focus on the anatomy, physiology, and today the behavior or temperament of these wonderful creatures. And there's a lot of good information, and I do suggest do your due diligence with anything we discuss. Go check out the Google or whatever trusted websites or veterinarian you communicate with to validate or rebut what we're stating here. But I do a lot of research and try to get good quality information from you guys. The information I get, I retrieve from what do you call poultry veterinary science journals, manuals, stuff that's used actually within the sciences or from academia. I don't go onto Facebook and those likes. So I like to do a lot of research and learn. And by doing that, I've learned a lot. I've been doing this for a while. So over the years, I've learned quite a bit about chickens. Weird, right? Who would have thought? So I can go into the party and people have chicken questions. I'm your guy. Angela is coming in now. Are you coming in? Hi.
Hi.
There she is. She's bringing chickens in. It's a nice collection of chickens you have.
Hello, everyone.
Angela here, Chris here. How are you feeling?
I'm just fine, thanks.
No, okay. Can you yap for 2 seconds? I'm going to get my notes. I left coming up here.
Oh. Not sure what Christopher already said, but yeah, so temperament is something that I think a lot about since we have a breeding program for our Silkie chickens and also our jumbo quail. So that's something that's one of the things that I'm always monitoring in each generation to come when I'm selecting breeders. And because it's an important trait is a calm temperament that I want to keep going through generations to come in our lines. But of course, there's other things to be focusing on, but that's a very important thing.
What, their temperament?
Mm-hmm.
That's right. So that's what we're going to be discussing today. Can you pick up a chicken? Because when people drop by these videos and they see a chicken, it's like show and tell. Like, oh, let me see a chicken. She has nice chickens. How long have you been breeding these creatures anyway?
For 5 years, I guess.
No, the backstory. Didn't you breed them when you were in high school?
Yeah, I started when I was in high school. My mom had gotten some for a birthday present. She just got simple hatcheries.
Generic.
So, my sister had gotten, sorry, she's not comfortable. This is a brown partridge. She's a sweetie. And
not
she's young.
Crazy.
She's only like maybe 5.5 months old.
Yeah, so obviously the bird's calm, but this breed is calmer than other breeds. However, if you have chickens that you like and you interact with them, you can acclimate around the animal and condition them to your presence. And we're going to be talking about the variables that are going to instigate the chicken's behavior or stress response to the stimuli. We humans, we're stimuli because we're not chickens. But the chickens can absolutely acclimate to us, obviously, as you know, if you keep them around you. And we're going to talk about that, how they respond, and safeguards and ways to get a proper breeding program. I take notes, so it'll be done linearly with some order. If you guys have questions, drop them in. What else is important? In the description of this video, there's a bunch of fun links for cool dinosaur omelet written material that we wrote. That's for keeping quail, chicken stuff. Fun stuff, and cartoons, good for the kids. And this is general information. This is not to be considered veterinary or poultry medical advice. We're not here to treat, cure, or manage animals' disease. That is for your veterinary professional. This is for information and education. And I do suggest you guys continue to teach yourself and keep learning.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Anything else?
No.
No. Okay. All right. I guess we're gonna start a little bit. If you're new here, we have a small hatchery in southern Lancaster County in Pennsylvania. Did I say it right?
No.
Lancaster. Lancaster County.
He's a foreigner.
Yeah, I don't come from here. We have a small hatchery in Lancaster. Why small? Why not large? Well, that's a whole nother video. The bigger you have, the more overhead there is, and the scaling of maintenance becomes different. Some people want to do that. There's no way I want to deal with hundreds of thousands of birds.
Yeah, and my focus is in consistently improving quality of our lines, and I want to have a controllable, small number of birds to continue doing that. So, the more you have, then the more, the more work and attention that takes. So it's harder. It can be harder to be very detailed.
What's cool about what we're talking about, which we'll start in just a second, is I'm going to talk about biological or some physiological fundamentals, like very, very basic stuff that you will see is quite analogous with human beings. Like we have some of the same architecture analogous to the chickens. So very, very similar. So it'll be easy to understand or like intuitive to us. Mm-hmm. All right. So should I begin this? I think I shall. Raising calm birds on purpose, because when you're breeding or you're raising your animal, hopefully you have an intent or an objective for them that you're cognizant of, that you're aware of. So when you're interacting with birds or you're trying to hatch them, you have an expectation of outcome that you've thought about. And obviously with the Silkies, you want them to be happy pets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have 2 here instead of 3. So every time I pick one up, the single starts fussing.
Should I pick it up?
No.
I can't handle chickens. All right. Calm birds are not accidental. Like I just stated, they are intentional outcomes of your breeding program and your handling and your environmental management. These things are going to contribute. Temperament in poultry is a result of measurable biological systems interacting with their genetics or life experience. And like I said, their environmental design, their hutch, their yard, their interactive area, how densely packed they may be. These are into, environmental influences. So we're talking about the functionality. We're talking about a low baseline stress reactivity. What is that? So when you're going around a bird, and let's say we're doing a breeding program, I want to select my good birds. And I have 3 birds who I come and pick up, and they I'm going to do a little bit of this, but I set them down there fine. But that 3rd bird, every time I pick him up, and he runs around, and he's much less calm, where the other 2 will calm down. So looking at this, I'm observing he doesn't go back to a low reactive baseline.
Or even when picked up, after a moment, if the bird's calming down, from just being held, usually when they're restrained, not tightly, but restrained, they'll calm down. But if they continue to elevate their if they start getting more and more and more freaked out and they're not calming down, that's definitely not a good sign for temperament quality.
Yeah. So not to tell you stuff you guys you already know, like obviously if you spook them, they're going to get nutty. But the birds are constantly going to be introduced to different stimuli, animals walking by, and they may react. Like, I mean, we've seen our chickens go crazy when something new comes by, like a bird, maybe a crow flies down. They're all going crazy. But maybe you have a huge dog, and a huge dog doesn't bother them at all. Mm-hmm. Because they're used to it. They acclimate to it, and they go to a baseline, and it becomes part of their environment.
Or if Kelly? You have some...
Kelly. Hi, Kelly.
If you have some friends or family come visit, but that's not a normal, regular, routine type thing for your birds to see, maybe the visitors have some bright colors on, or maybe they move differently than you, that the birds aren't used to. So, if, they come and stand in front of the pen or wherever the birds are, they might get pretty alarmed or alerted, just something like that.
Kelly had a request.
What was that?
I told Angela to bring it. She said, "Did you bring the frizzle chicken?"
No. Yeah, that one's a different age group.
But it's very calm.
Yeah, she is.
It's very calm. That's Mrs. Frizzle. I didn't know. But I'm sorry, no, she's not here.
You should make a special video for Kelly.
Yeah, so there's a few things that are influencing. This is just part of this whole intro to this. There's a few things that are going to really influence the baseline reactivity of the bird or the temperament. When you say temperament, it doesn't mean something vague. It's really referring to a very specific set of behaviors and physiological conditions that the animal is in when presented with stimuli. But that's a lot of words and people don't like hearing these. We need Mrs. Frizzle to show and tell. Maybe I can grab it before we leave. But so we're talking about what was that? I just lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah. So temperament, when we're referring to temperament, is actually referring to legit features of the animal physiologically and behaviorally. Mm-hmm. And how do we influence them? So defining calm in physiological terms, which I think I went over a lot of that before. One of the things that reaction is, when the bird is reacting, it's doing similar to what a human being does when they get startled and they have a fear or stress response. Hold on, Kelly's yapping here. Hi, Verna.
Oh, hey.
Sorry, I want to hear one of these. Wait, I hear one. Are there birds there? Yeah, Kelly. Pick up a bird for Kelly. So we have something called the HPA axis. Get one of those birds, which is the hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal axis in our brain for cortisol release in humans. And the chickens have a very similar architecture, HPA axis, which releases a similar hormone, but it's called corticosterone, very similar in name. Yeah, there you go, Kelly. Angela's
I picked both up because the one keeps fussing when I have only one in my hand. Oh, sorry, it's not really the best.
They're kind of quiet.
Yeah.
So what's happening when an animal sees something? Very briefly, hypothalamus detects the threat or the fear, the reaction, and sends a signal to the pituitary gland, which sends a messenger to the adrenal gland to secrete the stress hormone. Now, stress is not bad for any animal. In fact, it's quite beneficial. Chronic stress, however, is, and that's something we want to avoid because it'll cause not just temperament issues, but health problems as well when an animal's under chronic stress or at a high stress level.
Yeah.
It says, ooh, I'm dying. So they do, just like a human, they see something, they're going to have a stress hormone response, and they're in a stress state. What we're looking for in our birds when they become stressed is that they go back to this level. Mm-hmm. This one's like almost like noise-making toys.
Noise-making toys?
Yeah, they're very calm.
Oh.
So they go back to being calm. Mm-hmm. So calm birds exhibiting lower resting corticosterone levels. All right, these are not stressed out animals. They're not hypervigilant. Human beings, very similarly, with trauma events, etc., they may have a hypervigilant state at all times. They're just hypervigilant because they had a horrible thing happen, and so they're, even if it was just once, that's what's horrible about trauma, but I'm not talking about humans. But when a bird's exposed to similar environments where there's a perceived predator or threat, they can get into that kind of hypervigilant state and not get back to a resting baseline. So they're going to have this hormone coursing through their body when it shouldn't be. They're going to be very, that's what you call skittish birds, where they don't like people come around and they flip out and run off. So you're having that reaction with these birds. And I'm going to tell you how that happens when they're chicks and adults, because it can be instigated in chickhood. Is that a word? Like babyhood?
I don't think so.
In the chick stage. Yeah. I'm not a scientist.
People understand.
Okay. What did Kelly say? Ooh, I miss my Silkies so much. Well, they're easy to have. They don't make noise. They're quiet. They're not rough. I want house chickens with diapers to sleep with us. Utah is a harsh climate on these sweet babies. Aww. Yeah, it gets cold. I want a diaper on my pig and for my pig to sleep with us. But that's not happening. So your calm bird has lower, isn't going to be coursing with stress hormone throughout its body, reduced intensity of stress response with mild disturbance. And these are observables. There's a few observables, like if you're doing a breeding program, what do you look for in a chicken to tell whether or not it's wacky?
We're talking strictly about
The
temperament.
observables, yes.
Well, I guess an ideal bird or type of temperament you would be looking at to start, so your baseline, would be curious, looking around, pecking, mellow, calm.
That's good stuff.
Appropriately is alerted to, danger or such, but calms down when whatever the, changes that moves on. If it's the opposite, it'll be, more neurotic, jumpy, scared of you, just doesn't adjust well, very fearful, doesn't enjoy human physical contact. When you do pick them up, they just struggle and they're scared, no matter how much time and energy you're putting into them. And yeah, I mean, like, those are the main things. They tend to be more like just not at rest.
And in practical, usable chicken terms, a calm bird or a calm temperament animal. Again, that word is kind of loose and vague. It doesn't have a strict definition, but we're looking for certain things. Anyway, in practical terms, a calm bird is going to be calm after you pick them up. They're going to settle. They're not going to keep fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting, particularly if they're acclimated to you. And if a chicken's never been around people, and you just all of a sudden saw, oh, that chicken's cute from a menagerie that's kept in a barn, and you go to pet it, it's just going to react to, it doesn't mean it has a negative temperament, it just never had been introduced to humans. And it's a predator. So it'll view the human as a predator.
So and when I'm talking about, like, when, let's say you get a batch of chicks and you're raising your chicks from the beginning, and you notice a couple chicks are much more friendly. I mean, sometimes chicks can be, a little fearful, but as you work with them, if you just notice one or two that just doesn't ever come around, even as they're getting older, they're poulets, juveniles, you can tell temperament, you can tell personalities, but yeah.
So, and that's where we go into the culling or removal of birds. Now, culling doesn't mean... it just means getting them out of a breeding program or removing them from the population of birds you want to keep. Doesn't mean you have to have them whacked.
No.
Right? So people hear the word culling and they think, oh, no, just get them out of your breeding program so it doesn't spread its corrupted gene. Now, why am I mentioning this? Because the behavior problem it's inheritable. Right?
Yes,
You're not gonna breed like aggressive roosters. You don't want that are pecking the kids. You don't want them, and you don't want to breed them. And bad.
The same with fearful and not friendly, not doesn't enjoy human interaction. Those things can come with bad breeding.
So, very basic explanation of, I'm not a geneticist, but a basic explanation of DNA and genes. Think of DNA like a book. Like the whole instruction manual on how to build a chicken or a person, and the gene as one of the pages of instructions. So we have epigenetics or gene expression can be presented with environmental influences like a starvation. Let's say there's no food. Well, there's genes written in that book or that DNA that tell the chicken to reduce its body mass or whatever it's going to do to survive a famine condition or whatever the other condition is. You'd be surprised. There's many adaptations these animals can have. Genetics, not their DNA. They're not turning into a new organism at that level. They already have the instructions written in them for how they're going to work or express. And the chicken can do that. So when you have a chicken who's introduced to stressors and traumas and predators and all these things, particularly when they're developing, they may have a gene expression and they may just turn out scrawny and behaviorally, neurologically as well. Well, there's one.
And that can affect the makeup of the flock, whether, more calm birds can be more balanced. And, birds that may not be so mellow and such might be more neurotic. They still have a place in a flock, but they may not be, you might witness them not being this like very at peace bird.
And these are different. So the Silkies they're not high energy.
Yeah, they're docile. Their breed temperament is to be calm and docile. And this is,
more like a plant. I mean, people keep chickens that are much more high energy in their house, but they're acclimated to people, and they still have like a pet quality temperament.
Very friendly.
Again, because they're interacting with them. I had this pet squirrel. I named it Porch Squirrel. This was where, remember?
Well, it was a wild squirrel that he
acclimated to.
With.
Yeah, acclimated. So at first, when my kids were little, I guess what they were like. This is 2014 or so. Anywho,
middle school.
We had a local squirrel that I started feeding peanuts, and it was very, very skittish. You know, just like pigeons in a park with old people.
Yeah, he had a glass sliding door at the porch, and it would come.
So Porch Squirrel got acclimated to me, and I used to let it would run into the house, and I'd feed it under the table when we had breakfast. And I hope he didn't get like hantavirus or anything, but he didn't carry disease. And the point is, like, animals will acclimate to humans, even these wild creatures. So your chicken sure will, which leads me into phase 4 of this, early life neurobehavioral plasticity and the neurodevelopment and stressors at the brooder stage. Brooders are important. So what's that one's name, Kelly asked. Does that one have a name?
She does not have a name yet. The one I was just holding, she is a candidate for potential keeping for a breeder. She's just at an early stage for me to be monitoring all the traits. That
Angela will not name the tons of chickens, whereas I would name tons of baby bunnies. Remember,
some of them do have names, but for the most part, I just call them puppies.
Yeah, because a lot of
them all, like puppies. They all respond.
A lot of them are going to head off to new homes and families.
Yeah. Usually, like the blue one, she is available for sale. Usually when I'm showing Silkies to you guys here on our videos, those ones are typically for sale at present. But that one just happens to be one I'm holding on to at the moment.
I named all our bunnies.
Yeah.
We had Buttons and Mittens and Cinnamon and Sunshine and Grasshopper and all those names. I had to come up with like 50 names for little baby bunnies, and then we ate them.
Yeah, they were to be eaten, so he was not supposed to be naming them and cuddling them.
Okay.
Spending time with them.
All right, early life neurobehavioral plasticity or development. This is what I was talking about, like acclimation. So in the brooder, this is a very critical time. This is where they're going to be developing. They're just hatching out their eggs, and they need to stay in that brooder with their heat, water, and food in a controlled environment, especially for the first 3 days. They explode in growth in that period, yeah?
3 days?
Yeah, first 3 days is critical for like dying or living.
Yeah. I mean, the first week.
Well, yeah, they're weak, but those first 3 days are important for them to not perish if they're in a suboptimal environment.
They have, they're able to feed from what they've absorbed from their yolk for 3 days. But anyway, the first week. But it's important, you know, when you have your chicks in the brooder, this, like, you know, your interaction with them starts at day 1. And you don't want, every time you go to feed them, change their water, change their food, mess with their bedding, or interact with them, you don't want it to be this, like, you know, scary experience where you're loud and, you know, see something super loud and they all start and run. And yeah, you want it to be a pleasant experience, even if they're skittish. You still want it to be a routine kind of thing, but that they don't see you as this big scary monster. So,
and you shouldn't really be handling them at the very early stage, but you can acclimate to them with your voice.
Yeah,
like a
not
normal
overly chicken. Handling, just maybe brief.
Well, I always say that for families because kids want to pick up.
Oh yeah. They're not
constantly.
They're not at a stage of life where cuddling for a while is appropriate.
Yeah. And
this size is definitely good for cuddling, but babies, just quick interactions.
Yeah, the babies they're fragile. You don't want to introduce any bacteria or germs or cross-contamination from other animals. What else? And you don't want to freak them out because you can cause a stress reaction because they still have instincts to not get eaten. So they may perceive a stress as a predator, and that's going to affect them in that early stage, which we discussed this previously in another video where they have what's called phase lock development. Like they grow in phases, and after that phase is done, if it's not done properly, it's not getting fixed later. So you want to have optimal growth at the beginning of their life. Remember that? Mm-hmm. Phase locking. So...
But I would say I would encourage handling, brief spurts of handling, like gently picking them up and calmly stroking them and talking to them in a nice tone. for brief moments so that it's a good positive interaction. But if you're holding them, for a little while, they might get overheated from the temperature of your hand or just scared or stressed. So that's what Christopher is saying.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, you don't want to neglect them and be like in a science environment and just observe it through a glass. But yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, sure, you're going to handle them when they're young, but you want to be careful with the first few days.
Yeah.
Or you don't want to be crushing them. And you certainly don't have a crowded environment, like a jam-packed, what we call brooder.
Right. Yeah, you have to manage their
because it's going to affect their behavior. So you may be hatching super temperament birds, super calm animals that are really great, and then all their offspring are in a really bad environment when they're little. They may turn out to be all not the friendliest birds when they're big from the early stage. That's a very simple way of putting it without doing mechanistic explanation. Okay, environmental architecture and perceived security. That's something we talk about a lot, and it's going to be impactful. Predators, perceiving a predator. Angela W. What happens when a chicken is intermittently antagonized by a perceived threat, i.e. a raccoon or something at night?
They get very stressed and their health can start to be impacted if it's a recurring threat or stressor. They're going to have their sleep will be disrupted. Their immune system may become suppressed. If it's not something that's taken care of, at a appropriate amount of time, the birds may end up, being edgy and stressed and just unable to relax, which is not good. You want them to be happy and stress-free.
They have a circadian rhythm. I mean, they sleep like any other animal. And, imagine if I came to your house going, scratching on your windows at night, and you woke up all petrified, you'd be not in the best of moods the next morning. You're like, oh, there's a fat raccoon.
Every night, too.
I'm not in a good mood. You're nasty to people around you because you have this stressor at night. And, when you guys get scared, that adrenaline feeling, you know what I'm talking about? It feels
you feel stressed.
Yeah, you feel that stress.
You're wired. And
so you don't want the bird having this routinely because it's going to affect their behavior and their health. It can compromise their health too, aside from behavior. So I don't want to talk too much about that. But yeah, stress is not good. Chronic stress, intermittent stress is fine. And it's okay if there is a threat occasionally that does spook them. They should come back to baseline anyway if they're not, if their temperament is proper. Like they shouldn't be spooked up and then just hypervigilant for the rest of the day. Like the birds. A crow comes by, they all go crazy for like a few minutes, but
they acknowledge the threat, they might take cover.
And then they're fine.
And then it moves on.
Yeah. So they reacted to a perceived threat, corticosterone, or they were stressed. They had stress hormone response. Hey, Donis P is here. What's up, Donis? Hi, how are you? They had a stress response, and then back to regular, which is fine. It's when you have, just like with people, if we're chronically stressed, our immune system becomes suppressed because energy is now allocated to survive, immediate survival, not low baseline background survival just for germs. We're going to get eaten by something, so our stress is up here, and our activity and attending to our immune system, or chicken immune system, gets lowered. They don't need that. Like, are you worried about a cold if a bear's going to eat you? No, your body's saying don't get eaten by bear, catch the cold, but you probably won't. Bear's more important.
So what happens if you have a flock of birds, whether it's chickens or quail, and they're just, in general, their life, they tend to be harassed by predators, and they're just constantly spooked. What might happen if you hatch eggs from this group that originally were nice and calm, but then spent a lot of their life terrified from predators?
That's a good question. A few things can actually happen. So mother hen may not be able to produce strong eggs. Okay, you may have young offspring. These may not be adaptations to stress, but it may be a malformation due to mommy's poor health from being stressed constantly. Like when an animal's under constant stress, they may not be laying as much. And their egg production in the oviduct system, where the egg gets constructed, may not be tip top. Okay, the system may be compromised. So the egg itself and the embryo that's going to develop is not going to be healthy to begin with. And so, but yeah, you can have temperament issues with the offspring because the offspring may have a gene expression of survival from predators.
Mm-hmm.
They're not mutated, and
they might come from good bloodline.
Right, but they're adapting to an environmental stimuli.
Yeah. Anyway.
So the point is, you don't want to breed.
You want to keep them nice and
stressed birds, and you don't want to keep them constantly stressed. And that's an extreme example. I mean, nobody keeps birds that are getting attacked by foxes every day. Well, I know somebody does, but not everybody keeps birds who get attacked by foxes all the time. But this extreme example. Okay, we're done.
We know somebody who loves having poultry, but doesn't tend to put them away. Make sure they're put away at night at a good time.
Kelly said, "Do you sing the chickens the Rainbow Connection at night when they're in their coop?" I sent her my Kermit the Frog version of Rainbow Connection.
Yeah.
And she doesn't appreciate this Kermit the Frog voice.
I do too. It's very cute.
I'm not doing it here now because I'm a little hoarse. I'm not really Kermit ready. All right, handling mechanics and respiratory physiology. This is important, especially for you people who have pet chickens and you want to hold them like freaking dolls and toys. You can't do that because chickens don't have a diaphragm and they're...
You mean like flip them over and
have
them all funny?
They don't have the muscles. Like if you lay them on their back, they suffocate. That's why people hold chickens on their back like, oh, he's so cute. Hey, he's dying.
Like, well, they'll say, oh, look, he's sleeping.
Hey, sleep. Well, he's sleeping. He's passing out. Could be, let me read this. I got this hillbilly set up here. Could be Smeagol from Lord of the Rings, Angela. Could be so much worse. Oh, yeah, her husband sounds like Smeagol.
I'll need to get a little more details on that later.
He does a good Smeagol impression.
Oh, that's funny.
What do you say? He's passing out.
Mm-hmm.
All right, yeah, so handling the birds. This is going to really affect their behavior around you because if you're picking up and you're not educated on this and you're just snuggling your bird and you think you're being nice, but they're always going crazy and they don't be near you because you're killing them. You don't realize it. Because the birds, chickens, they don't breathe in and out like humans do. Fill up lungs, breathe it out of the lungs.
Mm-hmm.
And the design's very different. They have lungs, but the air only goes in one direction through the lungs. They have air sacs that run along clavicle region, side of the body, posterior. They have these air sacs like billows, like in the fireplace. So when they breathe in, they take in air into these air sacs, and the air is always breathing through the lungs in one direction. Why? Because they're designed for flight. So they want to get a lot of oxygen to their blood for flight. I mean, these aren't really good flyers, but their ancestors and some of their cousins were designed for flight, but they still have the same lung anatomy, and they have these billows. And they don't have a diaphragm. So when you lay them on their back, you're not holding them properly. They have trouble breathing. They're going to have respiratory problems. They have delicate respiratory systems. Again, keep the coop clean.
Yeah, but so... birds, they're very sensitive to balance. So they have a mechanism balance, a mechanism in their mind, their brain, their head, and is separate in their
two different areas
in their body.
One for the head, one for the body.
That's why you'll see them, when they're gonna jump and use their wings, you'll see them calculating and they're moving their head around trying to calculate.
Oh, think how far they gotta go.
Yeah, and when you hold them, you can move their body around, but they'll keep their head level and pretty stationary, no matter if you're moving their body
like
around.
A gimbal. I can put a cell phone on this thing and take it out.
And then, so with that in mind, it's always good to keep their back flat, like parallel to the ground, and then they'll be the most calm, whatever the breed, because they feel level and balanced. So when people start tilting them, these guys are used to me handling them, but when people start tilting them, usually you'll see them shove their shoulders back or move their tail around. Sometimes they just get scared because they feel unbalanced and unsafe. So it's always best to keep their back flat when holding them, whatever the breed again. People like to look at their eyes because we're eye contact creatures, and then they'll start tilting them back in their arm. They'll go like this, tilting them back to look at their face. But it's always a good idea just to pick them up to your eye level and to look at their eyeballs at your eye level rather than trying to tilt them.
Yeah, they'll get out of balance. And yeah, if you keep doing it over and over again, they're going to associate you with feeling uncomfortable.
Yeah,
and then
so
not want to get petted.
Christopher, he had a Silkie. Her name was Speckles.
Speckles, a
she
chicken.
was a paint. And originally she liked him because she was food motivated. He would always go and feed her, give her food. But then he would lure her to his feet with the food and then grab her really quick. And then with his giant man hands, he would just squish her.
And then squish her.
And then he would, you would tilt her. So she did not enjoy his manhandling of her little fluffy body. And what happened was, because it was still his chicken, he would go and throw food, and she would run up, grab the food really quick, and then run away. So she wouldn't let him get near her because she learned that being handled by him wasn't the best thing. So it is important, sometimes people might think, oh, they don't like me or whatever. Maybe adjust the way you're handling them, and then that may cause them to calm down. It might not be a temperament thing. It just might be an association thing.
So when their wings aren't secured, they're trying to
I usually
balance and they get
put my finger on a wing, my thumb. But
yeah, when their wings are free and you're holding them, I guess they're still trying to find stability with their wings.
Sorry.
Because of all the different axes of rotation or where they feel comfortable. I'm just saying their wings, if they're not secure,
So
they flap. Okay.
Yeah, they'll flap their wings if their body feels unbalanced. So it's just an instinctual, just like us when we end up, if we're teeter-totter on one foot, we might start flinging our arms around to regain balance. We use our body and stuff. And the same thing with wings.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. But I'm going to move on to a couple more things because I think it's almost time. No, it's not. I'm tired. I'm tired. The social density and hierarchy stability. So chickens have a hierarchy. I think most birds do.
Mm-hmm. Most animals that live in a group have some sort of hierarchy. Yeah.
Yes. So what are they doing when they're communicating who's in charge? They peck?
Yeah, the pecking is the main thing. Mild. So they'll size each other up. They'll do the stare, and they'll freeze and stare at each other. And it might be as simple as one submits, looks away, and walks off, and this is the winner. If they both won't submit, then they might chest bump or just kind of stick their chest out. Female hens, roosters are more aggressive, but hens will chest bump. Then they might start pecking each other, and it just comes down to whoever's going to submit, and it depends on their temperament. If they're not, overly dominant, but they're firm, then usually somebody will submit without, too much of a kerfuffle. But if there's, very strong dominant personalities, then they may go at it for a little while before they. But yeah, usually it's an eye stare. Then it might go to the body posture, the bumping of their chest, and then it's the starting to peck.
Yeah, the reason I'm bringing this up is, people, they may want to suggest an animal's just aggressive. They're online. Oh, that's just an aggressive rooster. Or that's just an aggressive this or that. It may not be. It may be an overcrowding issue, a feed issue. There could be a lot of issues making the animal's behavior off.
Mm-hmm. Or it could be
aggressive.
It could be the line of the hierarchy is getting changed because it does change.
But this is something to investigate. If you have an animal that's problematic, it may not be the animal's brain that's problematic. It could be something environmentally influencing it for its behavioral problem.
Yeah, and obvious behavioral problems would be like bullying. To us humans, what that means is like continually picking on either one chicken or just picking on everyone just for no reason.
I don't know why they do that. I'm like,
it's
chicken.
Just like
I'm going
just
to
grumpy, like constantly grumpy.
You're going to get cooked. So yeah, and the density, like how packed you're keeping a coop or a run, that's going to be stress. Like too many birds in one area. But I think you guys already knew that. All right, moving on, because I'm just about done. Habitual predictability. I think we discussed that. When you're introducing a stimuli over and over and over again, they get used to it. They may react and go wacky the first time. Like, say you get a new dog, all right, or you get a puppy or something. That's brand new to these chickens that have been there for a year or two or whatever. And they see puppy coming around, rah, 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 they go nuts and freak out. And they're but after a few, and you should probably, what do you call it? Monitor.
Yes, of course.
Take, what do you call it? Walk the dog?
Okay.
Yes, yeah, monitor your puppies or whatever you're bringing, the new stimuli. And the chickens will acclimate to it. So they're going to get exposure, and if they're well temperamented, they'll stress out, but they'll come back to baseline, and they're not going to be hyper vigilant for the rest of the day. But you don't want to make them hyper vigilant by bringing this intermittent stressor that they can't acclimate to. That's just freaking them out when they go into a severe reaction state, like like barking like that. That'll scare them. So you want to be consistent and acclimate them properly. So feeding at consistent times, using consistent vocal cues or vocalizations when you're talking the same kind of tone. And they respond to aggressive tone, just like any other critter.
Yeah, yep. The energy, the positive or negative energy, yep.
Yeah, that's I guess the metaphysical world of chickens.
I have the Silkies that I have available for sale at the moment. They're in a playpen so that I can monitor them and keep them clean and such. Christopher and I were standing next to their playpen and we were just talking excitedly, but that meant we were talking louder. And we were right next to their pen. And then after we had been talking for a couple minutes, I looked at the puppies. There's like maybe 10 in this pen. They were all like squashed against the wall because they weren't used to us standing so close and just talking loudly. In that way, they're used to me passing by, interacting with them, but not like two of us talking really loud at each other or together, whatever. So it's just but then they mellowed out right away. So that's like, if they were like neurotically like scared and staying scared and just like took a long time to calm down, that's not a good thing.
But that's how animals got domesticated anyway in the first place. All these creatures used to be wild animals.
Yeah, that's true.
And so we bred them, interacted with them, have them grow a little different, and bred them properly over many, many generations to where you have these silly looking creatures.
Yard
very nice little animal. I mean, they're nice to pet. I don't know why people like them.
Yeah, so I hatched a frizzle chicken. We can do it another time.
Kelly, if you're still there, I'll go get a frizzle chicken. But if you're not,
Christopher had never touched one, and anyway, I hadn't intended on having a frizzle, and the feathers, they flip up, and it has a very different texture. It's soft. It feels satiny, but they flick all over the place. They don't look like this fluff. And he touched it, and he was like, "Oh my goodness!" And he really liked it. And immediately he's like, "This is my pet." I was like, "Okay." Yeah,
I claim that as my pet chicken.
Yeah,
very cute. I mean, that was the thumbnail I put on this video.
Oh, really?
Was his pictures I took of you with Mrs. Frizzle.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm looking at. I keep bending down to look at my iPad. We have a very hillbilly setup here. There's a phone here, and an iPad down here where I look at comments.
I don't think that's too abnormal.
All right, limits of behavioral modification. I'm going to wrap this up. So we got a bad chicken. There's many things you can change. You can acclimate and readjust chicken's behavior if you want, just like a lot of animals. Like these people who get those abused dogs, who are like, and they work with them, and then they're like nice puppies.
Patience,
calm energy. Same with the chicken. Yeah. You can readjust a bad temperament if you want. However, there's some things that are going to be limiting to doing that, which is genetic predisposition, which you're not going to be able to see. You're not looking at genes. You're looking at behavior.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean,
it's something you'll observe over time.
What do you call scanning electron microscope? Anyway, early trauma, which we discussed, like in that brooder stage, if there's a traumatic issue going on for their development at that stage, they may develop behavior problems from that. Just keep it. And chronic stress during their development around the same time can cause problems. Overhandling when they're very young, temperature fluctuations in that brooder, overcrowding, or a perceived predator that they can't get away from in that brooder stage. These are trauma instigators. and it can cause problems in your chickens that are not going to be very easy to solve. So many behavioral modifications can occur from a bad chicken if you want to put the work in, but some things may be hardwired in it from early development.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
This is all true. All right. Integration, do you want to talk about that? No, that's just a sales point. Calm birds are good birds. People want calm birds.
Mm-hmm.
Okie dokie. Phew.
Here, let me bring her up a little closer so you guys can see her little face.
Yeah.
Oh, you see her eyeballs.
I guess Kelly left.
Kinda hard
Otherwise,
to
it would have
see.
ran to get Mrs. Frizzle. Chicken.
Yeah, you should send a little mini video.
Well, I'll make a video of that Frizzle chicken maybe Saturday when I have time. And, yeah, I'm going to bring it to the gym and take it biking. What?
You're gonna get a chicken diaper
Yeah.
for her? Yeah.
Yeah.
You saw them on Amazon.
I saw a guy with a dog at the gym.
Did you? You
Yeah.
have to put a little vest on her.
Service dog.
Service animal.
A service chicken.
Mm-hmm. Emotional support.
Yeah, I get sad without my service chicken. So I'm going to do that. All right, you guys. I appreciate you coming in. I hope this was useful. It was a lighter chat.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't about
Yeah,
that.
that was interesting.
You see, I don't get bored with the science stuff. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm 100% nerd. Like, if I'm going to a party, I'm talking nerd stuff with people. People don't like me at the party because I do that.
Well, as long as it's interesting.
Like, oh. So I would talk chicken science at the party.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think the whole thing about their lungs is fascinating.
Yeah, it's different.
They have unidirectional airflow. It just goes in one direction through the lungs, just out. It's always flushing it full of oxygen.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about that last week. That's going to provide a habitat for the growth of organisms that are infectious too, because there's so much oxygen. So you got to be careful with keeping them safe.
Yeah.
For delicate structures. Cool. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, it's always been a pleasure. We sure do appreciate you coming in here and hopefully learning something, even if there's one thing about the birds.
Mm-hmm.
Am I too loud?
No.
Okay. Yeah. We'll see you guys in the future. If you found this of use, let me know. Just hit a like or send it out or save it, whatever you do. Yeah. And we'll discuss chickens and quail in the future. Maybe I'll do a quail video next. I'm going to do a quail video next. Who wanted to see that quail video? Taco. I got to find Taco. See Taco, I'm doing a quail video. Remember that girl?
Mm-hmm.
You don't?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We're just rambling. Goodbye. Thank you for coming.
Bye, everyone.